And so if you don't have these foundationally in place, any marketer out there can run with your money, but they're not going to actually solve anything. And not to mention, I think what makes us really unique is we do marketing and sales. If you hire a marketer, but you suck at sales, it doesn't matter how many leads you have, you're not going to have any sales. And that means no business, no revenue.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, and even $100,000 weeks. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7- and 8-figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets Podcast. I'm Pedro, and today I'm joined by Holly Jean Jackson, revenue expert, international speaker, podcast host, author, and founder of Changemaker Impact Co. With over 20 years helping business leaders get their groove back physically, mentally, and emotionally, her career spans technology, communications, organizational change, public relations, and content strategy. Holly's Peak Performance Blueprint takes a holistic approach to success, helping change makers master impactful visibility, intentional profitability, and endless sustainability. Fun fact: she played first chair clarinet at Carnegie Hall and is a black belt in karate, bringing that same discipline and excellence to helping business owners stop leaving pieces behind while chasing new strategies. Welcome to the show, Holly.
Thanks, Pedro. Appreciate the warm welcome and lovely intro.
Oh, I'm excited that you're here. And on a side note, you're a black belt, so sometimes it's good to be in a remote situation. I can sometimes say some stuff that I get myself into trouble. Okay, I'll put it like that.
Ooh, this could be a spicy interview, Pedro. I'm watching you. I see
Okay.
you.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, Brazil is a big place. I'll put it like that. Okay. Good luck. Now, before we get into what you do now, Holly, I'm curious about how this all actually started, right? So, what was going on in your life when coaching became more than just an idea?
Yeah, so I worked in corporate America and at universities and nonprofits in my traditional career, and I kept facing layoff after layoff. And tied to my layoffs, I also had a lot of really weird health challenges. And so with the fourth one, I saw the writing on the wall and noticed a pattern that, hey, this isn't working. This traditional work environment is not suiting my body. It's not suiting me emotionally. It's not supporting the goals that I have in life. And I keep getting sick from it. And so from there, I started getting coaching credentials and certifications because I thought I needed those things to do the things, and started on the side doing some consulting and coaching. And then I'd say the first 2 to 3 years, I was coaching only. And then I noticed that a lot of my clients needed more. They needed not just coaching, but consulting. Because by the time they hired a coach, they were so busy and so overwhelmed that that's something we could solve for them. And so we started offering consulting alongside coaching. And that was kind of the secret sauce of helping change makers get ahead of the curve.
Mm, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, I cannot picture into corporate America. You're so vibrant, right? It's and your health was like, please get out. Yeah. I think that's so interesting. Yes. And because corporate America and well, the that side of the business, it's so sometimes it feels like so boxed in. It's so like traditional, and also sometimes it kind of I would say suppress the true selves.
Yeah.
People are like trying to play a game by someone else's rule and not saying the wrong things and all that. So what I want to understand is like, at what point did it stop feeling like a side thing or a calling, the coaching stuff, and start feeling like an actual business you are responsible for? Like, is it the first invoice?
Yeah, great question. So, I mean, I think I was doing coaching part time on the side as like a side hustle for a couple of years. But I remember one of the last layoffs I received, knowing that I didn't want to go backwards. And I was offered an interim CIO role. And I knew if I took that, I'd get stuck back in that ladder of the corporate, stuff. And I didn't want to do that. I knew that I had learned the lesson the hard way and I didn't want to go backwards. So I remember going out to my network of people I'd worked with previously and said, "Hey, like I'm starting a company and I'd like a part-time consulting gig for no more than 20 hours of work per week." And I was very honest and open with them that I was starting a company that I wanted to become full-time. So what the way I started my company is very different is I replaced my corporate income with a consulting gig from people in my trusted network working 20 hours a week. And because it was consulting work that replaced my full income. So I had space and capacity without like burning myself out and doing the corporate way to start growing my coaching company. And I think that was when it became real because I opened the LLC officially. I told the people who were hiring me, I had 3 offers from the people I trusted. And it felt real because then they became my investors, even though I was doing, work for them. They knew I had another thing and that I wasn't really committed to staying with them very long. I ultimately worked with them for like a year and a half and then we parted ways. And then it was officially just me on my own. But that year and a half felt very real because they knew from the beginning.
Okay, so you're coming from replacing your salary from corporate to a consulting firm. Okay, now where's the shift to coaching, the pivot that you're like, oh, I'm doing consulting. Do I need, coaching because I'm facing the main obstacle, which is people, right? Or how that played out? Did you ever like enter that thinking, hey, maybe sometime I want to do coaching? I just trying to understand and grasp on that.
Yeah, so it was always coaching and consulting as a combination. And the reason was even when I was working a traditional job in corporate America, people would always ask if I was the health coach on staff. And I was obsessed with health and making people's lives better. And yet the environment I was in was making me very sick, which is why I was so obsessed with health. So initially, I thought I was going to be a health coach. And then I noticed in the market when I was testing this before starting my own company, people weren't willing to pay what I wanted to be paid for health coaching. I also realized that I wanted to help a larger audience of actual business owners that helped more people. So initially, I started working with holistic business owners. And I knew they needed coaching and consulting. They needed coaching because a lot of them had weird mindset things like imposter syndrome, charging their worth, having issues with technology, having confidence setbacks, all these different things that new business owners or even experienced owners struggle with. And being having somebody as a sounding board and a cheerleader to help them navigate those waters was really important. But then additionally, people, because of my background in technology and systems thinking, needed operationally a roadmap of like how to do these things, templates to follow up with their clients, templates for marketing, and foundationally the success modes of what they wanted to actually run the company. Because nobody gets into their business thinking, oh, I want to do marketing and sales. No, you want to do the thing you're really good at. Marketing and sales comes alongside that. So we kind of help change makers plug those holes alongside with coaching and consulting to support them fully.
Mm. Now I gotta go for a deep dive here because I really think this is so interesting. It's like because I see a lot of coaches out there doing the same stuff. They like trying to serve a demographic that sometimes they don't have the money. Let's put it like that. Okay. And how did that felt from moving from the health coach and you realizing this is not gonna end well because I cannot serve so many people. This is maybe they don't have the money. I really want to help my past self, but I need to try something different in order to make this business work. So how did that feel for you?
Well, I mean, I think initially what I was also facing is what I help my clients with, and that was imposter syndrome. For whatever reason, I didn't think that I could coach entrepreneurs and business owners because I wasn't a business owner. I was a new business owner. So I was like, well, how can I do that? But when I looked backwards at all of the experience I had from working in nonprofit, working with communities, working in politics, working at a university, working for corporate America, and working in so many different types of the spaces, the technology, change management, launch plans, marketing, product things. All of those things gave me the actual, yes, like real affirmation of like, you can do this. And a lot of the business coaches, I put this in air quotes because they have like some sort of certificate from whoever says they're now a business coach. They don't actually have real world experience. I have real world experience, over 20 years of it. So at this point, it was more just, well, actually, this is so much more aligned because if I can help a business owner who has a real solution to help so many people, and I can empower them and their team to serve all of those people and scale their business to serve even more people, that's a much more powerful ripple effect. And if I want to heal the world, I need to start with the business owners and the communities and the change makers of the world to serve them faster.
Isn't that so interesting? Like we don't sometimes realize the skill sets we have. We're like, it's sometimes we need someone to tell us, like, hey, do you know what you did? And you just browse through it. That's actually not that easy. Do you feel like that? Or was that part of your past, like that you were like, oh, I kind of know how to do things, you know?
I mean, the smart coaches, if you're going to hire a coach or a consultant or anybody who's going to touch your business, right? If they're not working with somebody who's a mentor or a coach, they're not growing, they're stagnating, right? So when I started my company, and even to this day, I have mentors, I have advisors, I have coaches so that you can see your blind spots. That's why also my team, my marketing manager, I'm really good at marketing, but you're not necessarily really good at doing that for your own business. So it's great to have somebody you train and mentor to do that for your business operations. We have an operations person because we're great at doing that for our clients. Are you as good at doing that for yourself? No, never. Like the reality is that's just not true. That's why we have experts, advisors. That's why people have boards, right? They have these experts come in to help them see their blind spots and help them continue staying on the path to serve the most people and achieve their vision and legacy. So, of course, you need somebody, whether it's a mentor, an advisor, your board, your coach, the consultant you trust, really your business community, your brothers and sisters that are just a couple steps ahead of you to get that validation, to see those blind spots, to ask the hard questions, and then to brainstorm solutions to move forward.
Hmm, interesting. Okay. Now, you mentioned nonprofits, but what I want to understand is once you were out there helping people, right? Who did you naturally end up attracting? When did you realize, yeah, these are the people I work best with, you know?
Well, so that's why we rebranded just 6 months ago to Changemakers, 'cause there wasn't, like, just one title. They weren't just business owners, they weren't just entrepreneurs, they weren't just speakers and authors or nonprofit leaders. The thing that brought them together thematically is they're change makers. These are people who are lights in the world. They are making change that sticks for good, and they have this ripple effect with their community, their clients, their, nonprofit, their membership, the people they're serving, their message, their book. And so for me, it's somebody who is a heart-driven leader who wants to make change that sticks for good. Our goal, our job to work with them is to help them go big, to give back even more. Go big so we can give even more to that community. And in healing that business leader and business owner, that speaker, that author, that nonprofit leader, that change maker, we solidify a firm foundation for them to scale and have that massive ripple effect. And that's what keeps me excited every day. You see the news out there, and I'm like, yeah, that sucks. But we also are working with so many badass, amazing people that are making the world a better place. And that's what excites me every day.
Hmm. Okay. Now, if someone ends up working with you today, right, how do they usually find their way to you in the first place? And I know you've just been through a rebrand for the past 6 months, but I want to understand, like, if I'm one of those heart driven leaders and want to make a change for the good, how would I be able to find you?
Well, we have a lot of sophisticated marketing funnels set up. So for speaking, the book, our podcast, which is called Inspiration Contagion, it's top 10% ranked internationally. We have a lot of collaboration partners who refer us clients or potential clients, publishers, etc. People also find me online. Like I did a TED talk. I get people randomly I run into locally, and they're like, I know you from somewhere. And we start going through the list, and they're like, wait, you're the bear lady. I'm like, yes, you saw my TED talk. Thank you for watching that. Appreciate you. So there's a lot of different avenues. Ultimately, changemakers come to me when they've been burnt by other marketers that promise them a silver platter of lies and it didn't work out, and they're kind of jaded and they're not really sure about what will actually work, and they're desperate for getting past that plateau and serving more people. They're usually pretty burnt out, they're pretty overwhelmed, they're well past needing to hire their first or next person. In fact, when we work with them, we're helping create job descriptions, pairing them with an agency to find that next person rapidly and helping onboard them because they're just so alone and isolated and overwhelmed to get past that plateau, serve more people. Or they're just, scaling so quickly that they haven't done the foundational work for hiring more people to sustain that amazing customer experience. So we can come in and help them shore that up without more overwhelm.
Okay, now Holly, aka Bear Lady. Okay. Let's say I watched your content, went through your website, watched your TED talk. I'm like, she's pretty cool. I want to work with change makers, right? Now, how would that look like from my perspective while in the onboarding, process? What I want to know is like, how do you structure your coaching business, and how would that play out for me as a client?
Yeah, so if you're asking about our product pyramid, we have a lot of different ways that clients can work with us. So, from our lowest offering, we have a new course called Sustainable Growth for Good. It's a course in a community for folks to get that solid foundation, scale up, get past that plateau, and create revenue that lasts. From there, we have VIP days and we have revenue and performance consulting. These are packages and they're hours of coaching and consulting work and time that we can do with clients or with a team of a client. So, like, let's say it's a founder and their team, that's totally fine. We also have trainings and we can come in for speaking engagements or work with their team. Those are custom priced. And I'd say most of our clients, they start with either revenue performance consulting or like a marketing assessment. And then they end up working with us ongoing through fractional support. So whether it's fractional, chief marketing officer or chief sales officer or strategy work, they keep us to support their team. I think what makes us a little different than a lot of other consultants as coaches is we're not there to do your marketing or sales forever. We are there to empower you to have the systems, the tools, the technologies for your team to run that. And any fractional work we do ongoing is strategically keeping your team on point for the next and the latest and the greatest to continue growing that system and that solution versus doing it for you. We want to empower change makers to grow and continue doing that on their own without, handing it over to a marketing or a sales agency to do that. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. And this brought up to my follow-up question, which like, I mean, your work seems pretty well involved, right? And we're talking about you had some health issues in the past, and I like to ask this because I see a lot of coaches out there wearing all the hats. I know you're not a solopreneur, but sometimes it's such a passion-driven, I would call it profession, that we sometimes work more than we should and put ourselves in the place of burnout when actually we're trying to advocate against that. So how do you think about managing your time and energy so the business doesn't start owning you? Yeah.
I love that question. So, I don't work even 40 hours a week. I know that sounds terrible, but the smart business owners and most successful people I work with work less hours. They don't work more hours. And it's more about how we spend our time, not where we spend our time and how we spend it versus how many hours. So it's quality over quantity, right? So for me, that changes seasonally, right? Depending on where my peak form is in terms of like, am I recovering from a surgery like I am right now? So I'm working way less hours at the moment. And then it's where do I spend my time because my peak form is a little bit lower? And what can I send to my team to support so that we're still creating amazing experiences with our potential clients and existing clients? And then just really checking in with where my peak form is to keep us at a peak performance level. And that kind of ebbs and flows seasonally, as well as what's happening in my personal life and what's happening with the company. For me, I know if I'm not excited about the day or if I'm, feeling overwhelmed or the need to sleep more, that's a sign that we're going a little bit too far towards the edge of my not peak performance because I'm starting to deplete my resources. And so also my team is pretty amazing. They recognize that before I do and they fix it before I do. So they're like, "Hey, the week ahead looks really full, a little too full. These are my suggestions. Can you approve it? And we'll move these around." So if there's a day that has 14 appointments in it, they're going to change that. They're going to be like, "Hey, let's give you a little more spaciousness." Or, we're going to move these appointments around because they're too different and we want to keep your day more in flow to protect my brain and my energy. And so a lot of it is hiring people that are really great at the things you don't want to do or you're not as brilliant at, and they can take those things on for you. And then additionally, understanding yourself well enough to know when you see signs of overwhelm or burnout or depletion. And then another thing I would say is when you start, like if you get into year 7 and beyond of your company, there's a cycle that happens. And if you read the book Start With Why, it explains why this happens. But business owners lose connection with their why and their legacy. And when that happens, you'll also notice burnout and overwhelm, even when you're protecting your time because you've lost your North Star and your compass. So if you're starting to feel burnt out and you're not working a ton of hours, or you're like losing your way, you've kind of like lost your mojo, so to speak, there could be a why misalignment as well. And so we want to make sure that your legacy is aligned with your marketing and sales messaging, how your team is structured, how your culture is built, who you're attracting into your company. And if there's something that's amiss there, which is a lot of work we do with change makers, once we figure that out again and we create the roadmap to fix that, your mojo will come back, your energy will come back, and you'll be much more excited about your work.
Oh my God, I can resonate with that so much, especially the performance, right? I can do a 12-hour shift, no problem. But if I start feeling like I'm underperforming, I'm like start feeling guilty. And I'm like, oh my God. And then I get into a pickle, like a real problem. And I need to hold myself back. So it's not just about the hours. If you really, really care about what you do and your craft and your work, sometimes it's about performance instead, just not clocking in and clocking out. It's not just about that. So I really like that that reminder, and but I want to tap into another thing here too, because I feel like this is important, like, and it's a hot topic. It's pricing. Okay, so going back, and we don't have to talk about hard numbers, it's just about the mindset of it. Like, for example, early days, okay, you were trying to replace an income, right? And I imagine, I'm not sure you went through that, but a lot of coaches do, which is like that scarcity mindset of, hey, my calendar is pretty open. Why don't I charge less? And I could have X, Y, and Z. And you do that scarcity calculator in the back of your mind. And you're like, oh, it would be full, But at the end of the day, it's a self-worth path, right? Pricing for the service industry, especially for coaching. So how do you approach that now? Right? And what did you have to learn the hard way to get where you are right now?
I don't know that I struggled as much as I think other coaches and consultants do with pricing because I started consulting while I was still working full time in corporate America. So I was like not shy about charging my worth. I was like, this is what I'm worth, take it or leave it. I don't need this. This is like vacation money. This is, bonus icing on the cake. Additionally, because I was, I think, pretty strategic and smart about when I started my company and I replaced the income with 20 hours a week, giving myself plenty of runway to start building my company. I was never in a scarcity place because I had funding and then some. And so everything else gave me the runway to have sales conversations, not from like, I have to sell this, I'm not desperate, like from a take it or leave it. This is a great fit? Great. The mistake I see a lot of business owners make, and this happens, seasonally, let's say their sales pipeline is decreasing or they're not closing as many deals and they let the numbers kind of start mucking things up in their head. They start getting into scarcity because then they need the sale, right? So they're more desperate and people can feel that. They can tell when you get on a call and like you need the sale. Versus a lot of people I get on a calls with, they're like, in retrospect, we'll have a conversation like, I could tell you didn't need the sale. I'm like, that's because I didn't need the sale. Like, if you want to do this, great, but I'm ultimately more selective about who I work with, because if you're going to be a nightmare client, that's going to be toxic for me, and that's like working in corporate America. And screw that. Like, I want clients who are committed to the work. They trust me. I'm not jumping through hoops to work with you. If anything, it's the other way around, right? Like, and that's not to be cocky. It's just I don't want to work with clients that don't trust me from the get-go. Like, if you really have a distrust or we have the wrong chemistry, don't work with me. I mean, seriously. Coaching is very personal, and even consulting work in your business that's your baby, it's very personal. If you have a bad feeling, there are plenty of people out there happy to refer you to them. We have lots of partners that do the same thing, and if we're not a fit, great. So I don't think I really struggle with that. I would say I find sales calls with people that get hung up on pricing and they're like breaking it down by hours. So we sell consulting packages which have hours behind them. So there's not scope creep. And so it's manageable from an expectation perspective. But when people start saying, oh, so you cost this much per hour, I kind of cringe when I get that question or that comment, because I'm like, okay, if you break it down hourly, sure. But it's also taken me 3 decades to put all of the resources together in a really simple format for you. I'm only giving you what you need when you need it so that you're not an information overload, because everybody else is giving you all the things without the roadmap. And you have access to me through WhatsApp Messenger and through email with 24-hour response rate or less, and the team. Like, that is not about an hourly package. That is about, we are helping you with this specific pain point you have today, and we're going to get you there faster than anybody else. So if you want to break it down by hours, cool, but that's not the value you're getting out of it. So y'all, with your pricing, it's basically, what is the pain point you're addressing for them? What is the value of fixing that pain point, not just financially, but emotionally and spiritually for that person? And that will help you figure out the willingness to pay. And sure, you can do market research, but ultimately, if you're helping them fix their sales system and get their mojo back, that's worth a lot of money. It's worth a lot of money. So charge what you're worth.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's outcome related, not necessarily magic happens when the clock hits the 60 mark. It's now everything's magical. Now everything's running on it. It's just a way sometimes we find a package work that makes sense, and eventually we're gonna have to go down to math, but not necessarily tied to that. It just means to an end, right? The pricing. So it's about the outcome at the end of the day. Now, looking forward a bit, Holly, what's the direction you're aiming this business towards? Are you thinking more about growth, leverage, building an even bigger team, or refining what already works? I mean, what feels most exciting right now?
I mean, our mission and vision is to help more change makers in the world so that we can heal the world through the people who are doing this amazing work, right? And so that means growing in what I believe is a sustainable way of growth. And so that's why we launched our new community and course, was so we could serve more change makers at a lower price point in a way that was more accessible to people that can't yet afford consulting, right? And so we launched Sustainable Growth for Good. It's a course and community that helps them get their systems in place, their core foundations in place. And that way they have more clarity on their messaging, their marketing, their sales, who they're hiring, all of these core things. Where if you don't have these right and you hire a marketer or a salesperson, of course you're going to fail. You have no idea what you're doing. And so if you don't have these foundationally in place, any marketer out there could run with your money, but they're not going to actually solve anything. And not to mention, I think what makes us really unique is we do marketing and sales. If you hire a marketer but you suck at sales, it doesn't matter how many leads you have, you're not going to have any sales. And that means no business, no revenue. And vice versa, if you're really good at closing deals but your calendar's empty because you have no leads, you don't have a business. So when you have somebody who helps you get to the core of your legacy, your vision, your mission, your values, and these core systems, and then you launch from there and you hire a marketer and a salesperson. Oh my goodness, I wish I had this when I started. Like, I would not have wasted so many tens of thousands of dollars with mispromised things with marketing and leads and all the things. And so, yeah, we want to grow and support more change makers so that we can see change that sticks for good in this world and help change makers get their message out into the world.
Mm, okay. You know what? even when things are going well, there's always something under construction, under the hood. So what's the main thing you're actively working on or trying to improve in the business right now?
Right now, we are fine tuning our business operations as a company. So we have a lot of standard operating procedures. We have some automations. We are working to up level and review all of our SOPs and really just fix our automations, right? We want to have immediate reports that go to not just the operations manager, but the whole team, so that if there is something that breaks in that sales process, that lead gen process, that customer process, we know immediately and we can have human intervention. Y'all, if you're using AI and automation and you don't have reports that are letting you know or human intervention managing those systems, that's a nightmare that's just waiting to break and cause you a lot of trouble and pain and probably a lot of lost revenue. So we're really digging into all of those pieces. And then we're also building some new sales funnels and marketing funnels at the top. So we're really shoring up some specific collaborations to bring more people into our group calls and into our collaboration partnership calls. And we're fine tuning that process because we know more 8 years into this than we've ever known.
Okay. Before we close this out, if someone resonated with what you shared and wants to follow your work, Holly, where should they go?
Yeah, the two places you should go, changemakerimpact.co. That's our website. It has all of our social media links, all of the information you could want. And also our new community and course, Sustainable Growth for Good. You can find that at sustainablegrowthforgood.com. And we have that open cart all the time for our change makers to join so that you're not stuck again and you never hire a marketer or a consultant or a salesperson again that will lead you awry because you'll have exactly what you need before you get started.
Okay. There were a few things from this chat that really, stood out to me. I would point it like that. I really like how you came from health coach, and then I asked you about, are you trying to sell your past self, right? And you framed that towards imposter syndrome too. So it's not just about looking back at your own story and finding that you actually have the skill set. It's also about framing, right? It's not just about health. There are different ways I can serve people through the same topic. So I think that's very interesting. And we were talking about the pricing and you're like, hey, do you cost this much per hour? And you kind of cringe. I agree with that 100% because if we have that, it's like turning ourselves into a commodity. And once in a while, people start comparing your hourly price range to whatever industry they want to, so you cost X, Y, and Z. Well, my dentist costs this. So, and this makes no sense, right? So I think that's a powerful reminder. And it always show that maybe this is not aligned. Let's put it like that way, right? And that reminder about that without foundations, the marketing and sales simply won't follow, won't fix. It's like trying to find a symptom to fix when there's an actual root cause to fix first, like the foundation, the structure. And I see a lot of hooks out there, especially marketing, right, and social media, because they're good at it. That's first. And second, because people are always looking for the easy fix, the magic bullet, but they are just trying to avoid put in the work sometimes, I guess.
All the times.
Yeah, all the time. So this is my long-winded way of saying that I really appreciate you taking the time and being open with this. It was great having you on, Holly.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And for those of you change makers out there that you're not clear on who you serve very quickly on the spot, how you serve them, the pain point you serve, and exactly what your solutions are, you should know these in your sleep. And until you do, please don't go hire a marketer. There's no easy button for this. Do the work. You're worth it. You've got this.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This podcast was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, or even $100,000 weeks, all without burning out and making sure that you're making the impact and having the life that you want. To learn more about our community and how we can help you, visit joinpurplecircle.com.